khẩn trương. Đã bây giờ xuất phát.
What's going on, guys? Brent0331. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the intro. In this video, we're taking a look at one of Brownells Retro line rifles, which is the BRN16E1, based on the famed Vietnam era XM16E1 rifle. Now, if you don't know the history of the M16 in Vietnam, essentially when troops were first majorly deployed to Vietnam, the primary service rifle was this, the M14 service rifle. Now, although a fantastic rifle, comes in a little bit on the heavy side and is chambered in the full rifle cartridge of 7.62 by 51 millimeter. So at the same time, you had the Air Force adopting the original M16. You also had Special Forces units that were testing and evaluating the original M16s, and they had very positive feedback about it. So Army took a look at the rifle, and they came out with this, or at least Brownell's clone of it, the XM16E1. And this rifle was essentially issued out in pretty large numbers in Vietnam for testing and evaluation. And one of its first major uses of it was by 1st Battalion, 7th Cavalry, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Hal Moore in the Battle of Ledge Rang Valley. And he's even quoted as saying that the XM16E1 played a pivotal role in his troops being able to come out on top in that particular battle. So this particular rifle saw extensive use in the Vietnam War, essentially through its entirety from its introduction. And it was formally replaced by the introduction of the M16A1 in around 1968. And the M16A1 essentially is just the culmination of all the problems that were identified with the original XM16E1 and then rolled into this rifle. But Brownells, thanks to them, there's a whole series of clones out there, their retro line, and it's your opportunity to own a replica of those original rifles. And the XM16E1 is essentially the iconic rifle of Vietnam. It's got the three-pronged flash hider. The M16A1 has a full bird cage. So usually people associate the three-pronged flash hider with the Vietnam War. On the M16A1, or excuse me, XM16E1, you also have, at least in the earlier models, you have the chrome-plated bull carrier group. So very, very iconic rifle. And if you're a guy like me that likes these old iconic rifles, for the nostalgia and just, being able to have them and just a real pleasure to shoot, thanks to Brownells, we now have that opportunity. I first put together this M16A1 clone many years ago, and I was perfectly content with it until my buddy Bruce came over one day and he had that M16E1 build to his that he made, and he's got a video on his that I will post in the description box so you guys can check out his build. But he used a lot of Brownells parts in his to be able to complete his. So once I saw his particular rifle and I held it in my hand, I'm looking at it, I'm like, damn, I gotta have one of those. So anyways, long story short, Brownells, thanks to them, they make these clones now, and just fantastic, guys. Fantastic opportunity to own, just, even though it's a replica, a piece of history. So let's take a closer look at this, and then we're going to actually go down range and see if we can put some rounds out there and see how she performs today. So without further ado, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a comment. All right, guys, so here's my Brownells XBRN16E1, and I have my M16A1 clone here just so you guys have a comparative view. But you can see one of the big differences between the XM16E1 is that the fencing around the magazine release. This only has a partial fencing, and then there's no protection for the mag release. So that was obviously a problem with the XM16E1 because if you bumped up against something, obviously there's nothing preventing your magazine from just falling out. So that was one of the fixes that they have on the A1, which is pretty typical to all modern day AR-15s that we know of. The furniture on the Brownells rifle is all reproduction furniture. This is original furniture, so you can see it's very, very close, guys. The process they made to make this old furniture with the older rifles, they no longer do that anymore. So, they have to use different materials, but they have a pretty faithful recreation of that original handguards and pistol grips and buttstock. With these reproductions, and if you run around, you're actually going to use this to shoot with and whatnot. You don't have to worry about dinging it up and everything else. Dinging up originals. So you can use and abuse these because they're reproductions. So the charging handle is your standard AR-15 charging handle. It is that is correct for the XM16E1. On the XM16E1, you had a teardrop forward assist. You also have a pistol grip without any groove in it. So, your standard A2 style groove pistol grip was not on the original XM16E1. All right, so your BRN16E1 comes with one 20-round magazine, and it's a Brownells magazine. Here's an original Colt magazine, so you can see they're pretty much identical in all respects. There's your followers. There's your floor plate. Okay, so here's the buttstocks. The buttstock on the right is obviously the reproduction buttstock. The one on the left is an original XM16E1 buttstock, and as you can see, it's spot on. Just as a note, the M16A1 typically had a trapdoor buttstock, but it wasn't uncommon to see a buttstock without a trapdoor on an M16A1, particularly because at first they were just trying to use up old stock. Another thing I want to point out about these old receivers, guys, is look at the color of the gray, the shades. So this was an original M16A1 upper receiver, and it's matched perfectly with this Brownells reproduction stripped lower that I had and assembled. And if you get a regular AR-15 lower receiver, it's actually there's some differences between the A1 lower receivers and the A2 lower receivers, but the colors aren't going to match up. But this Brownells reproduction lower receiver I got stripped matches up perfectly with my original Colt upper receiver. And then as you can see, these XBRN16E1s have that original XM16E1 pockerized gray finish, which just looks fantastic. So let's talk about the sights, guys. So here's the front sight posts on the rifles. On the right is your XBRN16E1 Brownells reproduction, the XM16E1. On the left is a M16A1, and I want to point out that it is an original M16A1 upper receiver that I had. So it is pretty much completely spot on. So here's the rear sight apertures, and then the windage knobs are essentially exact identicals. So you can manipulate the rear sight aperture. And again, guys, the rifle on the left is a original Colt upper receiver, and the rifle on the right is a Brownells BRN16E1. So the barrel for these is a new made US production 1-in-12 twist. I believe you can get a 1-in-7 twist, so if you want a little bit more variety on what type of loads you shoot, but the originals were 1-in-12 twists, so that's what I got. So the ideal bullet weight for the 1-in-12 twist is going to be your 55 grain, particularly your M193 ammunition. All right, guys, so here's the flash hider. So on the original XM16E1, you had a 3-prong flash hider, which is a very effective flash hider. The problem was that they were finding that guys were getting these snagged on vegetation and whatnot, and also it's also said that guys were opening crates with these. The potential for, you know, the barrels getting bent there. But on the M16A1, you see it has a full bird cage flash hider, and you know, that was obviously, you know, the forerunner of the later M16A2 flash hider that has almost looks exactly the same, except it's solid here on the bottom. And if you so choose, you can mount a bayonet. All right, guys, so I just got done BZOing. So here was my very first shot group here. So that was my first round. I had to make a drastic adjustment off my first round. String of fire. My second string of fire was right here. All right, so I made another adjustment, put me right here. So then I made a fourth adjustment, and I don't know if I was just if it was just me or what, but I had this really weird long string. So I chopped that up to essentially being me. But I noticed that, you know, of the 4 rounds I fired, all 3 of them are low. So I just went ahead and raised it one click on the elevation post, and boom. So my last string of fire, 4 rounds, dead freaking center, guys. like perfect 1, 2, 3, 4 around the center bullseye here. So just pretty damn good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and push it back to 100. I'm gonna put up my special MVA and Viet Cong targets that I made, and then we're just gonna have some fun at the 100. All right, guys, so I'm at the 100-yard line. Just gonna check out my accuracy here. I'm gonna shoot all 20 rounds, shooting M193, 55 grain, and just see how we hit. All right, 20 rounds expended. Let's go down range, check it out. All right, guys, pretty freaking tight group. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20, all there. Freaking pretty damn tight. Almost all of them are near bullseye, so freaking badass. So far, so good, guys. Let's put up some MVA and VC and slay some bodies. All right, final test. That's it, guys. That concludes this review of this Brownells copy of the famed XM16E1. So I have to check the video to see how my impacts were, but I have a feeling that it did pretty damn good. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. So far, so good. No hiccups. Definitely a good little tribute to a famed warfighter. So yeah, guys, my approval so far. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment.